Dear colleagues, ladies and gents, welcome back to my stream. On the last seminar, we started with the iconography and symbolism of angels. You should remember there is a close relationship between attitude of the church to the worship of angels and their iconography. The main criterion of acceptability, an angelic name, in worship as well as in iconography seems to be its presence or absence in the biblical canon of the particular Christian church. Therefore, there is a widespread consensus. There are the 7 mighty archangels. However, Catholic tradition recognizes only 3 of them by their names, and they are also worshipped in Catholic cult. Anglican tradition, on the other hand, added as 4th archangel Uriel because he is mentioned in the fourth book of Ezra, which is a part of the Anglican canon. The full list of names and also worship of all 7 archangels with their proper names can be found in Ethiopian church. In Ethiopian church only. In the second half of the last seminar, we proceeded with the iconography of peculiar archangels. Michael used to be depicted as a warlike figure, dressed in armor. His main attributes are sword or spears. Gabriel is the archangel of Annunciation. His main attribute seemed to be a lily, a flower lily. Raphael is the angelic guide. His attribute can be fish, tail, or walking stick. Uriel is the archangel of light, and therefore his attributes are flame, and sun. Today, I'm going to show you the problem of Christian angelology from different point of view and present you the angelic hierarchy according to Dionysius Areopagite, which is famous for his conception of 9 hierarchies of angels. This conception is based on his work Celesti Hierarchia, the tiny treatise, approximately 100 pages in total, and this tiny treatise is a part of so-called Corpus Areopagiticum, which is very influential set of 4 treatises and 10 letters, which appeared under the name of Dionysius Areopagite in early 6th century. The name of the supposed author appears in the book of Acts of Apostles in 17th chapter, where Saint Paul converted Dionysius during Paul's visit in Athens. Okay. Dionysius' authorship was immediately challenged. Nevertheless, the works soon came to be accepted as apostolic, as assumed nearly canonical status and authority in Eastern as well as Western Christianity. In the years 832, famous Middle Age scholar Hilduin translated the work into Latin, and the corpus became soon very influential and popular among Latin scholars, including St. Thomas Aquinas. The controversies about its authenticity sporadically continued until the end of 19th century, when 2 German scholars proved the dependence of the Dionysius corpus on Proclus, the 5th century famous Neoplatonic philosopher. Therefore, the works were composed in the late 5th or early 6th century. However, despite many scholarly attempts to identify their author, he remains hidden behind his influential pseudonym. In the book Celestial Hierarchy, author Dionysius Areopagite defines hierarchy as a sacred order, activity, and knowledge that seeks as far as possible an assimilation and union with God. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. At the first sight, shown, I'm sorry, PowerPoint. Here, okay. As the first slide shows, the celestial hierarchy consists of 9 ranks of angelic beings, arranged in groups of 3. The first one are seraphim, cherubim, and thrones. The second one, dominations, virtues, and powers. And the last one, principalities, archangels, and angels. The first triad is immediately united to God, whose light and knowledge is communicated to the lower ranks. In its turn, the third and last triad presides over the human hierarchies. Each rank has its own capacity for assimilation to God, insofar as it is capable to receive and communicate divine knowledge. The crucial activity of each rank is purification, illumination, and perfection in its appropriate extent and level. In Dionysius' own words, it is words from Celestial Hierarchy 200c passage. I quote, the word of God has provided 9 explanatory designations for the heavenly beings, and my own sacred initiator has divided these into 3 threefold groups. According to him, the first group is forever around God and is said to be permanently united with him, ahead of any of the others, and with no intermediary. Here, then, are the most holy thrones, and the orders said to possess many eyes and many wings, called in Hebrew the cherubim and seraphim. Following the tradition of Scripture, he says that they are found immediately around God and in a proximity enjoyed by no other. This threefold group, says my famous teacher, forms a single hierarchy which is truly first and whose members are of equal status. No other is more like the divine of receives no more directly the first environments from the deity. The second group, he says, is made up of authorities, dominations, and powers, and the third, at the end on heavenly hierarchies, is the group of angels, archangels, and principalities. So, it is not so easy to find the suitable images of Dionysius' angelic system. I have found 3 principal depictions which can be taken as the patterns of the later iconographies of angelic grades on the west as well as on the east. Conventionally, the Dionysius grades used to be depicted without major differences, all the same as we can see on this slide, which shows the overall depiction of Dionysius' system in the mosaic ceiling from Florentine baptistry of Saint John the Baptist, which was made in 13th century. The nine hairs of angels are, as it were, concentrically arranged around the central lantern, the source of light. And here is lantern, and you can see here the nine angelic grades of Dionysius system, dancing or surrounding around the central source of light. Okay. I'm sorry. Small technical problem. It is okay now. You can count only 8 fields filled with the angelic grace on the ceiling of Florentine baptistry. However, 2 highest grades, seraphim and cherubim, are depicted around Jesus Christ in this field. You can see here the figure of Jesus Christ with cruciform nimbus with the letters Alpha and Omega, and Jesus Christ is surrounded on the one side by cherubim and on the other side seraphim, and the rest of as it were fields on this picture. These fields in total 8 are filled with others angelic grades. You can see here the titles of each field, and you can read here Tronoi, virtues, and so on, archangels, and so on. The same basic pattern can be seen also in the probably most famous depiction of 9 hairs of angels in Iveron monastery on Mount Athos in Greek. With the one exception, the central place is reserved not for the source of light, as you can see here, but for the figure of Christ Pantocrator, Almighty Christ. However, I must apologize, I have no suitable pictures of the Capua of the Iverian Church dedicated to Archangels, which contains a depiction of 9 angelic orders with inscription under each of them telling its name and function. And finally, you can see here the detail of the central of this field of ceiling in Florentine baptistry. Christ here surrounded by seraphim and cherubim. Okay. Finally, there is also the depictions of angelic hairs in English medieval Church of St. Michael and All Angels in Barton Darf in the county of Norfolk. Inside the church, you can find the 9 angelic grades depicted on so-called root screen. Root screen is a root screen is this wall which wall dividing the church to the presbyterion and nave, and this wall was root screen was usually removed during Counter-Reformation after the Council of Trent. However, the Counter-Reformation didn't occur in the English Church, because in that time the Anglican Church was founded, and the dogmatic and liturgical Reformation, which was initiated by the Council of Trent, did not influenced the English churches, or churches in England. The images were painted. The images, as you can hear, was painted in the late Middle Ages. They were made approximately in the year 1440, and perhaps done by an Italian painter. It is very rare depiction because, as you can see, all 9 grades are depicted, and they are different each other. Let us turn our attention to more specific characteristic of each grade and its depiction. Okay. Concerning seraphim, Dionysius Areopagite states, those with a knowledge of Hebrew are aware of the fact that the holy name seraphim means fire makers, that is to say, carriers of warmth. For the designation, seraphim really teaches this: a perennial circling around the divine things, penetrating warmth, the overflowing heat of a movement which never falters and never fails, a capacity to stamp their own image on subordinated by arousing and uplifting in them to a like flame the same warmth. It means also the power to purify by means of lighting flesh and the flame. It means the ability to hold unveiled and undiminished both the light they came and the illumination they give out. It means the capacity to push aside and to do away with every obscuring shadow. Dionysius begins his every presentation of a celestial rank by discussing the meaning of its name. So, in this case, according to supposed Hebrew etymology of their names, seraphim are living flames that burn with inexhaustible divine love. Therefore, they used to be depicted red like flames. Their bodies, you can see seraphim here, yeah, and also here, yeah. The seraphim are living flames that burn with an inexhaustible divine love. Therefore, they used to be depicted red like flames. Their bodies and their 3 pairs of wings are usually red. A red and flaming sword could be in their right hand. Their feet used to be bare. Barrenness of their feet is a symbol of their proximity to the deity. It sounds strange, however, conform with 3rd chapter of the book of Exodus. It states, then he, it means the Lord, said to Moses, come no closer, remove the sandals from your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground. So, this angelic grade is in close proximity to deity. So, the place where the deity is dwelling is holy or sacred, and therefore the seraphim are depicted with bare foot. With bare foot. All the details of these details are in harmony with the only biblical appearance of the description of seraphim in the book of Isaiah. It is sixth chapter of the book of Isaiah, which reads, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, lofty and exalted, with the train of his robe filling the temple. Seraphim stood above him, each having 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And no one called out to another, and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory. So, here at this slide you can see seraph, or one seraph, yes, plural is seraphim. So seraph, cherubim, and throne from bottom turf. Yeah? So you can see here seraph has a red body and feathers which extend to his wrist and ankles. Yeah? His right hand holds a censer. Censers contained hot coals in which incense was burned. The rising smoke of burning incense was the symbol of the prayer of the people offered to God, as stated, for example, in the book of Revelation. Seraph, notice the seraph has his face scratched out. That is the result of Puritan wave of iconoclasm. You maybe remember our second seminar when the Western wave of iconoclasm connected with the Reformation was mentioned. The reason for such vandalism was probably just the censer, which could be understood as the mean of the Catholic idolatry, principally pagan in its essence, and as such strongly rejected by the English Puritans. The second angelic grade are cherubim, and Dionysius says about them following. The name cherubim signifies the power to know and to see God, to receive his greatest gifts of his light, to contemplate the divine splendor in primordial power, to be filled with the gifts that brings wisdom, and to share these generously and subordinates as a part of the beneficent outpouring of wisdom. The crucial passage for the iconography of cherubim is probably 10th chapter of the book of Ezekiel, which reads, The cherubim appeared to have the form of a human hand under their wings. And I looked, and behold, there were 4 wheels beside the cherubim, one beside each cherubim. And the appearance of the wheels was like sparkling chrysolite. And as for the appearance, the 4 had the same likeness as if a wheel were within a wheel. When they went in any of their 4 directions without turning as they went, but in whatever direction the front wheel faced the others, follow it without turning as they went. And their rims and their spokes and the wheels were full of eyes. So you can see here the famous wheel of cherubim. This wheel is as it were the tool with which they move. And you can see here also 6 wings of cherubim, and the wheel, and also the wings are full of eyes, as you can see here. So okay, cherubim should have also 6 pair of 3 pairs of wings covered by eyes. The eyes are far more significant elements than the wings. According to some parallels, these eyes can also mean star, and cherubim could be interpreted as astronomically or astrologically as constellations. Above all, however, the many-eyed wings means vigilance and almost omniscience. The bodies and wings of cherubim used to be painted in blue color. Cherub of Barton Turf has 6 golden wings, 2 behind his head here, 2 behind his back, and 2 at thighs level. His wings are covered with eyes, as you can see, for example here. His body is also covered in feathers, again extending to the wrist and ankles, yeah, and ankles. The cherub's hands are raised in adoration and prayer, as you can see here. His hair is golden, surmounted by a cross diadem with 7 spikes, most likely in reference to the symbolism of the number 7. There are some differences between depiction of cherubim and seraphim at Barton Turf, and the conception derived from the work of Dionysius. First, seraph and cherub should stay on wheel. Second, the main color of cherub should be blue, which is the color of wisdom. And finally, the cherub should have only 4 wings, as stated in the book of Ezekiel. Okay. So the next one is the angelic great thrones. The angelic great thrones are described in the book of Daniel in 7th chapter, and it states, thrones were placed, and one that was Ancient of Days, it means the God himself, took his seat. His throne was fiery flames, its wheels were burning fire. And Dionysius comments such way: the title of the most sublime and exalted thrones conveys that in them there is a transcendence over every earthly defect, as shown by their upward bearing toward the ultimate heights, that they are forever separated from what is inferior, that they are completely intent, open, remaining always and forever in the presence of Him who is truly the Most High, that free of all passion and material concern, they are utterly available to receive the divine visitation, that they bear God and are ever open, like servants, to welcome God. Based on this accounts, thrones used to be depicted as 2, as you can see here, Okay, as you can see here, used to be depicted as two interwoven fiery wheels, winged with four wings, filled with eyes. The Virgin Mary is associated with them as occasionally appears near that great throne in Barton Turf is depicted on the on the on the last picture, on the extreme edge of this slide, and you can see the throne has golden feathers to the ankle and 6 green wings with black dots. 2 of the wings are folded above the head, 2 behind the back and 2 behind the legs at thigh level. His right hand holds a pair of scales. Here, the scales are symbol of justice and righteousness. His left hand holds a throne, as you can see here. And this throne rests on the clouds. The scales are the symbol of God's judgment. The artists probably considered the order of thrones as the seat in which God can sit, principally to make last judgment. Yeah? The first triad of heavenly beings is nearest to God, in close proximity to God. Not in the terms of physical proximity, but rather in terms of the capacity to receive God's presence. According to Dionysius, their primary movements are revolving and evil dancing, and he stayed in celestial hierarchy, passage 212. The first triad circles in immediate proximity to God. Simply and ceaselessly, it dances around an eternal knowledge of Him. The first triad is in immediate proximity to God, and thus possessing supreme knowledge of God and transmitting some of this knowledge down through hierarchical channels, even to us, even to human. So, the middle triad, consisting from dominations, virtues, and powers, explicitly demonstrates the mediating function of every order, since it mediates between the highest and lowest ranks of angels. It receives what it has from the first triad and passes it on the lower, even though each step brings diminution because the growing distance from the divine source. The members of the second triad could be appropriately called God's officials, because they are, on one hand, the agents of divine providence, governors of elements, and supervisors of the movement of the planets and stars. However, on the other hand, they, in the opposite direction, as it were, they convey human prayers to God. However, they are very, very, very seldom depicted because they are almost unrecognizable each another. Dionysius, in explaining and distinguishing middle angelic grade, has little or virtually no scriptural content to work with, but only scattered biblical names and his own fantasy or inventions in etymological wordplays. Therefore, the exposition of this middle triad of dominations, virtues, and powers also begin with their names, since these designations indicate how they imitate to God. Concerning dominations, Dionysius says, the reviewing name dominations signifies, in my view, a lifting up which is free, unfettered by earthly tendencies, and uninclined toward any of these tyrannical dissimilarities, which characterize a harsh domination. Because it does not give way to any defect, it is above any abject creation of slaves, and innocent of any dissimilarities, it is forever striving mightily toward the true domination and true source of all domination. Benevolently and in accordance with capacity, it receives, as thus it subordinates, the semblance of that domination. It rejects empty appearances, returns completely to the true Lord, and shares as far as it can in that everlasting and divine source of all domination. Iverion inscription from Iverion monastery, summarize character of dominations such way. The dominations direct their will in accordance with the truly supreme power of the absolute master. As Holy Virgin belongs to the thrones, Saint John the Baptist could be found occasionally among the dominations. According to Byzantine theology, John the Baptist is a human domination due to his virtue and his title, the forerunner of Jesus Christ, as can be found, for example, in Gospel according to Mark. In Barton Terf, domination can be seen on this panel, on this field. In Barton Terf, domination has 4 orange wings, 2 at waist height and 2 above the head. He has a nimbus around his head and wears a triple crown, that is, papal crown, and also papal vestments. The crown is the papal tiara and subsequently also the symbol of the Holy Trinity. Notice his face is again scratched out. It is most likely because the papal stylization, which was offensive to the early reformers, and above all the later Puritans. The image could have been done shortly after the year 1534, when papal authority was completely rejected by English King Henry VIII. So the next one, great, is virtues. As in the case of dominations, there is only a short remark concerning of virtues in the New Testament, precisely in the 3rd chapter of the epistle to Ephesians, which reads, "Through the church, the manifold wisdom of God might now be made known to the principalities and the virtues in the heavenly places." So their role and function in angelic hierarchy is a pure product of Dionysius' speculation and his creativeness, based on etymology of their name. Celestial hierarchy reads concerning the virtues. As for the holy virtues, the title refers to a kind of masculine and unshakable courage in all its godlike activities. It is a courage which abandons all laziness and softness during the reception of the divine enlightenments granted to it, and is powerfully uplifted to imitate God. Far from abandoning its godlike movement out of cowardice, it looks undeviatingly to that transcendent power which is the source of all power. Indeed, this courage becomes, so far as possible, the very image of that power to which it shapes itself, being powerfully returned to it because it is the source of all power, and at the same time it transmits to its own inferiors its dynamic and divinizing power. Okay. Inscription from Iverion Monastery summarize character of virtues as such way. The virtues possess invincible courage and put the spheres of heaven in motion. So, virtues of Barton Terre, you can see virtues of Barton Terre on the middle field of this slide. So the virtues of Barton Terre seems to be dressed like a priest. Some scholars think he is simplified image of bishop. Both could be a potent symbol of intercession of divine glory, as the virtues are. The virtue of Barton Terre is again barefoot, as you can see here, barefoot, and has 4 blue wings, 2 above his head and 2 behind his thighs. Feathers cover his whole body to the wrist and ankles. The last one, angelic grade from the middle hierarchy, are powers. The lowest grade of middle triad are powers, and except their name, we know nothing else about them from the Holy Scripture. However, Dionysius in a celestial hierarchy writes, the holy powers, as their name indicates, have an equal order with the divine dominations and virtues. They are so placed that they can receive God in a harmonious and unconfused way and indicate the ordered nature of the celestial and intellectual authority. Far from employing their authoritative powers to do tyrannous harm to the inferiors, they are harmoniously and unfailingly uplifted toward the things of God, and in their goodness they lift up with them the ranks of those inferior to them. They are likened, insofar as they can be, to that power which is the source of all power and creates all power, and they make that power evident to the extent that angels can in their harmonious order of authoritative power. So, power of Barton Terre, as can be seen on the extreme edge of this slide, is very heavily armored with helmet and holds in his right hand a chain. You can see here a chain which is linked around the neck of a demon. You can see here the head of a very ugly demon. He has the power has 4 wings, orange in color, 2 pointing upwards behind his back, and 2 growing from behind his thighs. I suppose the artist changed the role of powers and principalities. On the next slide, you will see the lowest group of angelic hierarchy. They are closely involved in the human affairs. They are the guardians of cities, nations, as well as individuals, and also armored warriors with evil demons and other enemies. And we can see the principalities on this slide. And on this slide is depicted whole last triad. This last triad is closest to the material world. The members of this triad are the agents of God's providence in the worldly affairs, and therefore they need armor and weapons. The highest are principalities, according to Iverion inscription. They are wonder workers and figure the essence of divine rule. Again, Dionysius found nothing but their name in the New Testament. However, celestial hierarchy reads concerning the principalities. The term heavenly principalities refers to those who possess a godlike and princely hegemony, with a sacred order most suited to princely powers, the ability to return completely toward that principle which is above all principles, and to lead others to him like a prince. The power to receive to the full the mark of the principle of principles, and by their harmonious exercise of princely powers to make manifest this transcendent principle of all order. The same name of the celestial principalities signifies their godlike princeliness and authoritativeness in our order, which is holy and most fitting to the princely powers, and that they are wholly turned towards the prince of princes and to eat others in princely fashion, and that they are formed as far as possible in the likeness of the source of principalities, and reveals in super essential order by the good order of the princely powers. So you can see principality of Barton Ter on this slide, and you can notice the principality carries a palm in his left hand. The palm is a symbol of the Christ's triumph over death and often associated with martyrs. His right hand held a vessel. Perhaps it would be a vessel for wine, and thus symbolic of Eucharist and blood of Christ. He has 4 pink wings, 2 behind his back and 2 at thigh level. However, he may well have 6 wings, and it appears as 4th wings is protruding from legs above his knees, above the knee. He is again barefoot and standing on the edge of his cloak, as you can see at the bottom of this panel. So, the principality of bottom turf is depicted rather as governor of elements in the close connection with Eucharist. As I have already mentioned it, his place should be rather among God's officials. And on the other hand, here it should be the better place for this angelic grade, and the warlike power here would be much more suitable for lowest angelic grade. However, the artists of bottom turf thought about this matter in different way. So the next one are the Holy Archangels. The Holy Archangels stand between the principalities and the angels as a mean between extremes. The function of mediation within a triad was not applied to the first two triad of angelic beings discussed above. The archangels in the system of Dionysius Areopagite are above all skilled soldiers, winged with two wings. They wore a breastplate but no helmet. The archangels depicted here has no helmet, only nimbus. It's very peculiar nimbus with flowers. Okay, Dionysius writes in Celestial Hierarchy, the holy archangels have the same order as the heavenly principalities, and as I have already indicated, they join with the angels to form a single hierarchy and rank. Still, every hierarchy has first, middle, and last powers, and the holy order of the archangels has something of both the others by virtue of being a mean between extremes. It communes with the most holy principalities and with the holy angels. Its relationship with the former derives from the fact that, like a principality, it is returned to its transcendent source, that it receives upon itself as far as possible the mark of this principle, and that it brings about the unity of the angels thanks to those invisible powers of ordering and arranging which it has received from that principle. Its relationship with the angels is due to their shared order as interpreters of those divine enlightenments mediated by the first powers. It generously announces these to the angels and through them to us insofar as we are capable of being sacredly enlightened. So, Archangel of bottom turf has two golden wings behind his back, decorated with black dots on them. He has golden hair and is dressed in armor with hip belt embellished with small bells, but he has no helmet. He is not barefoot, barefooted, and standing in a kind of fortress or castle, maybe, as you can see here. Okay, and the last one are angels, as you can see here. The angels, using the name now in the narrow sense of the lowest rank of Dionysius' hierarchy. So the angels are the point of contact with humanity in Areopagite system when it comes to do mediating revelation. The archangels generously announce to the angels the enlightenment they have received from the first powers, and then through the angels they announce it to humans. Inscription from Iverion monastery states, the work of angels is to ascend and descend in the service of man. Therefore, angels are directly related to humanity, as Michael, for example, is guardian angel to Israel, and other angel to other nations. In Areopagite's own words, the angels complete the entire ranking of the heavenly intelligences. Among them, heavenly beings, it is they who possess the final quality of being an angel. For being closer to us, they more appropriately than the previous ones are named angels, insofar as their hierarchy is more concerned with revelation and is closer to the world. And Dionysius continues. So then, it is the angels who take care of our own hierarchy, or so the word of God tells us. Michael is called the ruler of the Jewish people, and the other angels are described as rulers of other nations. For the Most High has established the boundaries of the nations by the number of his angels. That is quotation from the book of Exodus in Septuagint version, the last sentence of Areopagite onwards. So Dionysius doesn't mention the guardian angels assigned to each human in the moment of his or her birth. The conception of guardian angels, that is, each man has his own guardian angels, was perhaps most influential motive of Christian angelology in the later tradition. However, it is not based on the Dionysius thought. Angel of Button Turf, as you can see on last picture here. So the angel of Button Turf is dressed in pink garment and has 4 golden wings. 2 behind his back, here and here, and 2 behind his leg or waist. The right leg of the angel is visible here. It is covered to the calf by golden feathers, although the feet are obscured. But we can assume that the angel is footed, as Archangel is also footed. Why? The reason is the angels are in close proximity to humanity. They are pilgrim on this earth, and for that reason they need a boots, a pair of boots, and at the same time they are not in close proximity to deity, so they are standing on the place which are not sacred or holy. And for that reason it's not probable that the angel in this description of Dionysius hierarchy could be barefoot. The angel holds a spear in his left hand, and you can see here 2 naked men kneel kneel to the right of the angel. Their hands are folded in the gesture of prayer, asking for the intercession of their prayer through the angel. Okay, so and now let's proceed to the last topic of today's seminar, to the creation of angels. The last slide shows the creation of angels influenced by the teaching of Dionysius Areopagite. The creation of angels is a very, very rare subject in the Christian art. Moreover, there is no clear statement about creation of them in the Holy Scripture. However, we may distinguish two different methods of treating this theme in the art. Please turn your attention to the left image, to this image. It is taken from a manuscript from the end of 13th century. The creator is sitting on a rainbow. It's quite marvelous. You can see here the stylized rainbow, and the creator, the God, the Father, is sitting on a rainbow. Here you can see the cruciform nimbus, the orb in his hand. So the creator is sitting on a rainbow, and rays proceed from his mouth like divine breath, from which 9 groups of angels are born. His left hand is raised in gesture of Latin benediction. These rays are, as it were, the embodiment of the word proceeding from God. You can see there are 9 groups of angels, 3 in each group, but all are identical. And there is no difference between each of angelic grades. Are the same. A second representation here, shows us the creation of the universe arranged in concentric circles. The 9 highest of angels occupy 9 of these circles. So you can see here the 9 circles occupied by angels. The author of this picture is Buonomico Buffalmacco, who painted it on the wall of the monastery Camposanto in Italian town Pisa in the 14th century. The artist obviously held the angels were created after the material world was. Angels fills the 9 external or outside or external circles. On the contrary, the innermost circle here represents the earth. You can see the sign of zodiac here, 12 signs of zodiac, the constellation, the sun and moon between these circles. Here, you can see here the seven orbits of planets, including Sun and Moon. According to Book of Genesis, the star were created after the Earth. That is the reason they are in intermediate position between the central Earth and the angelic circles at the circumference of this disk. I'm almost sure Buffalo believed the order of creation was from the center to the circumference. And the creation began in the little central point, which is our globe here, and proceeded to the immense outer circles filled by angelic grades, the most sublime of all celestial beings. Therefore, the first picture presents the creation of angel before the creation of world. You can see here also rainbow and nothing else. The creation is depicted in kind of void, On the other hand, on the second picture, the creation of angels is depicted as realized after the creation of material world. The creation of material world was primary, and after them the nine grades of angels were created. So, dear colleagues, ladies and gents, we have finished our topic of the iconography of angels and archangels and angelic grades. Moreover, our time, as I can see, is nearly up. I thank you for your attention and feel free to ask your question in the chat windows. I am going to stay here for a while. Have a nice week and bye-bye.